Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB, and today I have a really vibrant guest called Makram, who is the founder of Arms and McGregor International, and he's also currently working as a top position in Block Square, and he's also the co-founder of REI Capital Holdings Limited. In this particular podcast, immediately when we start the podcast, there is a real sense of positivity, considering the fact that we are doing this podcast on a Monday at 8:30 in the morning. We were scheduled to do it at 9 o'clock, but this is the very first time where we preponed the event, so absolutely brilliant. Now, we did talk a lot about his experience in real estate, and a couple of things that did actually stood out for me was that, he's very thorough so far as real estate is concerned. One thing which I try to identify, are people doing things out of passion, or are they doing things because they are good at it? With reference to Makram, what I noticed is that he is good at it, and he also has the passion, and it's very rare that you find people who are combining both of those. And he also talked about some of the challenging times that he had, that is during the recession. But it has only motivated him. He wrote a book immediately a year after that. And currently he's managing 3 projects. Do follow him on LinkedIn. He's very, very live and active on LinkedIn. I do tend to read pretty much all of his posts. And believe it or not, all of his posts are completely different. It's very interactive. And he also has a couple of sessions every Thursdays. So in the show notes below, you'll find all the details. And towards the end of the session, he also has a couple of messages, for fellow business partners, for fellow competitors. Now, one thing which he did say is that, he does not have expertise in blockchain and cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Now, I have to disagree. After listening to the podcast, believe it or not, I do think he's an expert in blockchain and tokenization. More importantly, I think he has got it right, because I do tend to attend a lot of the other sessions who call themselves as expert in cryptocurrencies, and trust me, they do give out incorrect information. So in this podcast, he's talking about tokenization and NFT, and I do see that the advice that he's given is absolutely spot on and absolutely expert. So do listen to this episode, and if you do have any feedback or suggestions, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com, and all of Makram's information will be there in the show notes below. Alright, so check this out. Firstly, thank you so much, Makram, for doing this. Really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule and talking to me about.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Absolutely. And so to start off with, how has your day been? Today is the first working day of the week, and we are recording the session at 8:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Actually, there's no first day of the week. Yeah. The best thing is when you're blessed to be in a position to enjoy your time as you work within the middle of the week. And that's a blessed position to be in. You do not need anyone to mark your end of the week. So the week rolls. Actually, you enjoy during the week as much as the weekend. The only difference is that at the weekend, you can enjoy more time with your family because they're here since the morning and it rolls on. But thanks God, it's great. And we're in sunny Dubai, so nothing to complain about.
That is the most beautiful way to start this podcast, start the week and start the day as well. I feel really motivated, and that's a very positive outlook to especially start this podcast session and the week as well. Absolutely brilliant, and thank you so much for that. And Makram, what I want you to find out before we look into, how real estate merges with cryptocurrencies and blockchain and tokenization, can you tell our listeners about yourself and how did you individually get involved in cryptocurrencies and blockchain and everything?
My mistake. So,
okay.
Yeah, to clarify, I'm not a crypto guy. So
okay.
I know that people don't like that, but I am not your crypto guy.
That's fine, yeah.
I have not invested in crypto. I will tell you now how did I enter crypto investments, because I don't understand it myself. I always say I barely know how to use my iPhone. I'm a real estate guy. Yeah. I've been in real estate for around 20 years. I also entered real estate by mistake. I'm a timeshare guy and a private residence club and fractional ownership guy. This was my profession, and I was a salesman. And probably people will still realize that I'm still a salesman and will stay a salesman. So at that point of time, I was gonna move between an entity and another, going to an entity that is developing a new fractional ownership and private residence club team. And we discovered after a very short period of time that they're not really interested to invest in that. So I maneuvered towards real estate because they had a real estate division and that's what they were great at. And I had some of the best years of my life within that company. So after a few years, actually less than few years, the recession came into play, and it changed everything for everyone, including me. So I got married, and immediately after getting married, I got the recession approach me. And so I had a very good relationship with the recession, and it was the first thing I've ever seen. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll make sure that your wife doesn't hear this part of the podcast. I'm just joking.
My wife already.
No, I'm just joking. Yeah.
Actually, I had 2 recessions.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So definitely my marriage wasn't one of them. I have a best wife in the world. So anyway, that's just to confirm that if she's hearing it, I'm still free. The recession came. I was hit with it as everyone else, but slightly more because I wasn't prepared mentally, psychologically for a recession. Imagine that I bought my first property in May 2008. Oh, wow.
2008, yeah.
2008, May 2008. And recession came in October, and property prices went down by ridiculous amounts or percentages. And it's not like I had so much money. I was good. I was well off for that person at that age. Anyway, I drifted through those years, and I had very good luck within the recession. I've done good. And then I've done good in the next recession. And a few years later, in 2012, I started my first company, Arms and McGregor International, which is my main group entity. And then from Arms and McGregor International, I started growing, diversifying, developing more companies. I tried to tackle the brokerage market in a way that others didn't. So what I've done is I said, I want the biggest share of the real estate market in Dubai from a brokerage perspective.
Okay.
However, I don't want to do it by building a conglomerate of 500 brokers. I wanted to build small companies, small entities, because the business is so personal. So let me build small entities. And what I would tell you, George, is that turned out to be a failure. It's a failure not on all levels, but on one major level, which is manage that is very difficult, as well as I was developing my management skills as we go there. And then with time, I discovered that scaling on that becomes even more difficult than scaling one entity, because every entity needs its setup, that needs its the cost structure attached to it, and to have them all or have a central operation is very difficult. So you need to distribute yourself among several entities. I took the choice to do 2 things, actually. One, to start developing what I love more, which is buying real estate. I'm a very good real estate buyer. That's what I'm good at. I was a very good real estate salesman, and I still am. But what I really enjoy is buying. So I said, let me go into buying real estate. And I developed my private office, which invests my money. And then I developed an investment entity, which invests my money and people's money. And what I've done in brokerage is I consolidated all of those companies into one. I moved it from Arms and McGregor. So it's not an Arms and McGregor company anymore. So it doesn't conflict with any of the other businesses that we do at Arms and McGregor, because initially we're product structuring specialists. Although brokerage was our bigger man force, this was our biggest power. So we moved into a position where we have interest in several companies, and in a way or other, I developed a more an investor's approach to real estate than a broker's approach to real estate. In the interim, and specifically around 7.5 years ago, I decided that there's something wrong in real estate. And that's a statement that no one have listened to or heard from me before. There's nothing wrong in real estate. There's something wrong in how we treat real estate. It's ridiculous that a $1 trillion business, or several $1 trillion in some of those companies, like Alphabet, like Apple, like Microsoft, can be traded $50 to $100 a share, while my house, my neighbor's house, is $1 million, $2 million for no reason. And we live all through our lives trying to purchase that house. And many people have that rather than a biggest security in their lives as the biggest tension reason to have tension and stress and financial stress within the family. So I said there should be something different. And I started researching conventional ways. Remember, I didn't know at that time about distributed ledger technology and blockchain.
Yeah.
Thus, I didn't approach it that way. I was searching for conventional ways. How do they look at businesses in general, and how can we look at a simpler asset, easier to manage, easier to understand, like real estate?
Yep.
And then I discovered distributed ledger technology and blockchain. And I said, oh, voila, this makes it all make more sense. It's much easier to use. It's much easier to create the efficiency we want to create, the transparency we want to create, the utility, the ease of access that we want to create. It's easier to make my father or your father with $100,000 buy 10 properties all over the world rather than stick it all in one house in Mount Lebanon, for example. And that's how I started approaching it. Now, for everyone looking for the blockchain side, I do not, for the crypto side, I do not invest in crypto myself because I don't understand it. However, I know that a big portion of it will be a big portion of the future. So alongside very smart friends of ours who are very good at crypto and do understand it, I decided to create GMRA, which is our crypto think tank, and GMRA invests as well in crypto. So they do what they do best. And when they have something real estate wise, they send it to me. So we created that partnership to make sure that we do it right, because I am an advocate of doing it right. If you want to do real estate, come to me. If you want to buy into real estate without guessing, REI Capital is your route forward. Why? Because you can buy without guessing. You can jump on board with me to do what I've been doing all over those years the right way. And I believe each should be specialist in his field, in his locality, and should do it best. And that's why we went that route. This is the long version of a short story. So
no, I think it's absolutely brilliant. That is how it should be for businesses. I mean, we don't need to understand the technical elements. That is something which should be at the back end. We just need to look at the user experience. We don't need to understand, the technology part of it. So personally, I 100% agree to you on that. And, it's interesting to me to find out that you also have a section dedicated, only to doing with cryptocurrencies. And if investors want to find out about real estate, that's when they get in touch with you, because that's what your passion is, and that is something what you're good at as well. Now, I did cover about via LinkedIn back in May in 2021 about, your journey, where, I think Arms and McGregor were planning to tokenize thing. And I did tag you back in May of 2021, and I think you guys were looking at a business area of roughly around $5 billion or something. Now, has that thing changed over time? Has it gone up? Has it gone down? Currently, with inflation going on right now. So how has that transition been so far?
So we're all about the future. Arms and McGregor had several departments, and we let go the brokerage, one of them, and the property management. And we said, Morgan's International Realty, which is my company as well, along amazing people. And I have an amazing managing director there who does a great job growing it. Arms and McGregor International is a product structuring specialist alongside other things that we do. And one of the product structuring that we do is real estate project product structuring. And in my opinion, digitization of real estate is a big, major thing that is happening, and it is happening as we speak. You can look at what's happening in Dubai. And when I talk, by the way, about anything, guys, I'm talking about the fundamental. I'm not talking about the fluff around. So anyone can look at it and pick the negatives that are taking place in any market, in any concern. However, remember, it cannot all be bright and rosy. Yet the efforts being put, for example, in Dubai today on digitization are second to none. If somebody looks at what's happening in Dubai Land Department, what's happening with your deeds, I'm not sure that anyone who owns real estate knows that his deed in Dubai is on blockchain.
Yep.
This is where your deed is. So there's great efforts being put there. And in my opinion, that's the future from Dubai to the world. And many other places in the world are putting an effort. I'm an advocate of Dubai. I'm an advocate of Dubai as a will to live. I'm an advocate of the UAE as a place where over the past few years, it proved once and another. Every time, we think, oh gosh, what's coming is bad. And then the country benefits of what's coming and does great at it. And the last one being the pandemic and everything post-pandemic. So I am biased to UAE in that, and to Dubai specifically. When you look at the digitization effort globally, you see things happening every day. Everyone understands that that's the future. Now, digitization did not start today, guys. It started years ago. It started around 30 years ago, probably. However, today, it's running at an acceleration that it never did before. One. Two, when it comes to tokenization, democratizing access is major. Not only that, when you go through DeFi and you understand that cities of the future will not be funded by probably the current forms, because I used to say it will not be funded by HSBC, Barclays, JP Morgan, and Citibank. I would say it won't be funded by the current forms of those, because those banks are also jumping on DeFi, are also jumping on the future of technology and what does it entail. So those cities on the future, be it Neom in Saudi Arabia, or be it any other city in the world, the redevelopment of Paris, because I'm not sure people know, and I discovered a few months ago or a few weeks ago that 25% of all homes in Paris within the coming few months will be non-rentable because of the ESG regulation that's kicking in. So who will develop and redevelop those? It won't be those traditional, conventional organizations. It will be you, George, and me, and everyone else of our guests and listeners. It will be all of us. We will be developing that. We will be changing how everyone thinks of the future. And DeFi and blockchain help us do that. Now, when it comes to Arms and McGregor and the tokenization efforts, Arms and McGregor at that point of time started an amazing partnership with Blocksquare, which I happen to be also today the chief operating officer of. I wasn't then. And that partnership is a partnership to develop infrastructure and enable others also to develop infrastructure. And I believe we've come a long route. We've already tokenized around $45 million of property, which is around 170 million dirhams. And there's much coming that is much bigger, because now we're talking to institutions. Now we're talking to semi-government organizations. Now we're talking to government organizations. There's much coming up, but there's much that have happened already. Obviously, because we always want to be compliant and always want to be on the right side of regulation. And I'm a fan of having everything regulated rather than people running in the gray. And we don't run in the gray. Because we don't want to run in the gray and we want to wait for regulation in every aspect, but also we want to move forward, we created a way at Blocksquare to be able to tokenize without impacting regulation or affecting regulation or triggering any issues regulatory wise. And we now have tokenized property. We are staking those property tokens. People are getting rewarded. It's a whole ecosystem in the making, and it's growing by the day. It's still an embryo. It's not an infant yet. Yep. However, when it becomes, be scared of that infant, because it will probably change things very fast.
Absolutely. That's a brilliant way of saying it. And, I really like the fact that, you mentioned about Dubai, and that this is where the regulation kicks in as well. Because I believe the clarity that you get so far as regulation is concerned, Dubai is, if not one of the best places to give you clarity on, let's say, tokenizing things. Would you agree to that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I believe that we are developing the system very fast. Dubai, again, has a will to live. That kind of proactive approach to regulation. Again, guys, for everyone listening who would look at it and say, yeah, but this have changed from so to so. I would tell you, we are a 20-year-old city as it is in its modern form. The rules and regulations have started developing few years ago, guys. You have countries with 400 years of development and cities. We're ahead of them already. And that's a rough thing to say, because I really hope that every city in the world develops at the same pace or even better. Unfortunately, however, that's not what happens. Guys, people who have big backpacks usually are the slowest movers. And cities of the past, and it's really painful to say cities of the past, but cities who had a great past have a very big backpack, and they refuse to let go any part of it, and they refuse to change. Dubai comes and creates an impact change. And I really respect traditional cities that do put that effort and impact change as well. And I would mention places all over the world, like there's places in Switzerland, there's places all over Europe. But unfortunately, it stays a small attempt in the overall scale of things whenever you talk about the countries. Cities that impact change and develop fast are cities of the future, because the future is moving in very fast. So Dubai is a city of the future.
Totally agree. Yep.
And positioning itself perfectly for that.
And one of the vision of Sheikh Hamdan is, he wants Dubai to be the number one city so far as Web3 is concerned, and digitization is a massive part of, Web3. They have a couple of events on metaverse as well, which we'll try to touch base later on, if you have time, how real estate merges with metaverse as well. Now, Makram, I have looked at, your LinkedIn profile, and I do think all of our listeners should actually follow you on LinkedIn, because you constantly provide updates pretty much once or twice a day. Now, you are currently with Arms and McGregor International, with Block Square, and also with REI Capital Holdings, right? So can you just give a brief overview of what is it that you do? I know you've mentioned that, but if you could just run through what is it that you do, keeping in mind the tokenization part of it as well.
I'm asked this question so many times, and I tell them I do only one thing. So the question that comes is, you do plenty of things. How do you cope with all of those? And I tell them I only do one thing. I do real estate. Everything else runs around real estate. So Block Square is tokenization of real estate. Arms and McGregor is structuring and positioning of real estate and advisory of real estate. When it goes to REI Capital, it's investing in real estate. So what I do is real estate. I wake up in the morning and I start doing real estate, and everything else, even in tech, is enabling things that are linked to real estate. So at Block Square, we enable people to launch marketplaces, to tokenize and white label marketplaces. So if you, George, wanted to launch a George's marketplace, and you said, you know what, I want to launch a DXB marketplace for tokenizing real estate, you can utilize Block Square's technology, and within 4 weeks rather than 4 years, and a few thousands of dollars rather than a few millions, launch your own marketplace in technology that is tried, tested, frameworks beyond the technology, frameworks and methodology that's tried and tested. You can use all of this just by accessing Block Square's ecosystem. So what I do is only real estate. I buy mainly today. What I do is the consultancy side. And I advise developers, and I advise semi-government organizations when it comes to real estate. And this happens in two phases. One part is the operations, and the second is the portfolio development. Why buy, what buy, when buy. So again, to remove the biggest part of the guessing out of the approach. And at REI Capital, our latest venture, It's all about allowing everyone access to real estate, the conventional, my way, yet accessible to everyone. Anyone who has $10,000 can become a partner in success there. Okay. It does not require people just to have $10 million to be able to access it. And this is democratizing it, the conventional manner, the conventional way. And so this is what I do, real estate.
And this is the power of digitization, and with blockchain technology, we are in a position to do that, isn't it?
Exactly, it is. And when you talk about Sheikh Hamdan and metaverse, and I'm not sure if that exactly will happen, but what is the advantage you had as a city 15 years ago or 20 years ago? If you were Shanghai or New York, your biggest advantage, or one of the major advantages, is that you had a captive audience. You had consumer base around you. So the strength of a city to another usually is how many consumers and talent pot and are around you. So if you're a city in a country of 1 billion, or you're a city in a country of 400 million who are consumers and a talent base, you're much more progressive and capable than a country that doesn't. Today, and I really see that happening. I yet don't understand today, or can't really envision that doesn't. I see that the future, everyone can be a citizen of Dubai and the UAE or any other city. I'm biased to Dubai. So Dubai, and then we have the whole world as a captive audience and as a talent pot. So not only people want to physically move to Dubai, and I'm hearing more of this every few days, but also they can virtually move to Dubai. And this will enable us to have an edge if we continue executing at all times. And probably we will, because we've proven, the system has proven over the past few years, stability in execution. And we execute in the future on the right legislation, the right proactive approach, the right welcoming approach to everyone who's capable and who wants to develop within our region.
Absolutely, and Dubai and UAE in general, they do provide platforms, for individuals, for businesses, and even for multinational organizations to connect with other people, and the initiative is definitely there. And one question which I wanted to ask, at a very general level. So let's say if I'm an investor, and if I were to approach you, so what is it, the steps that I need to take? Let's say if I have a couple of $1 million and I want to get into real estate and digitization, how would you go and approach them?
Okay. How I would approach them, I'm out there. So in general, I'm easily accessible. If you have something that concerns me, I'm a magnet to that. So I will jump on it usually, and we'll capture it and we'll make something out of it. How to approach me? The easiest way is to go through LinkedIn or my website. You can always email me, and I'll immediately react, either me or my PA, but we'll immediately react and will immediately take care of things and help you within what we can. Because remember, many people come to us and what they want is not something that we have. If what you want is something that we can offer, because we're very specific about what we offer. I don't do real estate globally. I used to. I don't anymore. I do real estate consultancy globally, but whenever it's buying and selling real estate, I only do my city now. Why? Because specialization. I want to have an edge and to offer you that edge. I do not have an edge if I go to New York today. And this is something that Charlie Munger said before, I believe. If you are coming to my locality in real estate, you don't have an edge. And he was talking about himself and about Berkshire Hathaway. While I have an edge on them in my city, in my locality, let me use it.
Absolutely.
If you're in car manufacturing, and what you do is you're responsible for the aluminum in the parts in the car. You have an edge in that. So when you want to invest, think of that edge that you have that others don't. I don't even understand your business. So stay within that. the thing, George, here that is very important is when we talk about digitization, shared knowledge, and when we talk about not only shared knowledge, but Web3 and the capacity of people to interact and transact over the internet, it is allowing others to defocus. Guys, it doesn't have to allow you to defocus. The too much noise that's around you should not move you from your knowledge base, from your knowledge center, and where you understand best. If you utilize that for the good sides of it and you don't defocus, you'll be able to do great. On your WhatsApp image, you have an image of you, probably in a triathlon, or where were you?
Correct, your obstacle course race.
Okay.
Brand ambassador for that.
And you may be busy with 10, 20 things.
Yep.
There is something that's major to you, and you pursue it. And you probably pursue it every day to be able to successfully pursue it when an examination comes up.
Absolutely.
And I advise everyone to do the same. Focus.
Yep.
You can do many things as on the side, but focus. So next time you read, rather than flipping through social media, read a book, because that allows you to focus. Okay. And there's amazing books about everything. So if you want to read about what's coming, the New World Order, Ray Dalio is one of them.
It is one of my favorite ones.
Just reading it for the third time, guys. And go ahead.
Then I was just going to say, he has a video how the economic machine works. I might have watched it more than 10 times, and even the New World Order, 100% agree to that, yeah.
100%. So focus, guys. Focus in your business. Focus on what you're doing. There's so much noise out there. Even focus in your approach. So I'm trying to focus more and more. With more extractions coming up, I'm trying to focus more and more. And I'm trying to focus in my business. This is evident in the restructuring of all my business and the attention points. I do not run my brokerage anymore. I do not get involved in my brokerage anymore. I do not run some of the other companies that I have interest in. I do not get involved in them. I just see the numbers. I focus on what I do best, buying real estate. Pick a focus and stick to that, probably.
100% agree. And I agree to the fact that you mentioned, and you go with the quote for Charlie Munger as well. Having a competitive edge is so critical, especially, in today's competitive environment. Absolutely agree to that. And I wanted to ask, Makram, you also have an event with one of your co-partners, Dennis Petrovic, is it? Every Thursday, yes. You go live every Thursday via Block Chat.
Block Chat.
So can you tell our listeners a bit about that, and how is it that they can attend it as well?
So let me tell you how it started. It started because Dennis and myself wanted to inform our community of what we're doing. We're a company, Block Square is a company that's not hype-driven. It suits our ethos in everything.
Yep.
We are not out there throwing empty promises, drawing big dreams and pictures. And by the way, part of that is a handicap, I would say today, because what people have developed internally is a discounting mechanism. And why did they develop that discounting mechanism? Because they see everything hyped. So they usually reduce everything you say by a discounting rate. Now, they discount some approaches or some promises by 50%. They discount others by 90%. So when you say without any bubble wrapping and without any fluff around your plan, and it gets discounted, people way underestimate what you're going to do. So what we wanted is, without hype, to communicate what we wanted out to our community and beyond. We want to grow our community as well as communicate to our community. And the beauty of it is that we have a great community, because not only are they loyal and consistent, they push the project and the ecosystem future forward because they believe in it. Now, we started that Block Chat a few months ago. If I show you the first test, you will laugh so much.
It's still on LinkedIn, is it?
There's still things to laugh about in our Block Chat, but it's improving. It's learning in progress. And what people don't know, because I usually, share videos. I usually come up on similar podcasts, and the show is called The Brief. And The Brief has several aspects of it. It has the block chat, which is everything blockchain and DeFi and real estate. It has analyzing property, which is property. And it has now Fibree Talks. I'm an executive board member and regional chair of Fibree, the Foundation of International Blockchain and Real Estate Expertise. And we started Fibree Talks, which is part of The Brief. So the creation of The Brief, for people who think that I only created it to share what I know, not really. I created it to learn. So initially, when I had that thought, I said, I would love to talk with amazing people who know much more than me. And then I said, okay, why would I do it in silence? Why wouldn't I do it publicly? And this is how the idea came out. And by the way, most of what I share, guys, with you is for me to engrave the learning of the day. Most of what I share is a handicap that I have, that I'm working on, and I've shared with you. So when you see me talking about something, most of the time, it's a personal pain that I'm learning to get out of. And most of the time, I didn't get out of yet. Because generally, when I get out of, I talk about it once and I stop talking about it. So that's Block Chat is everything DeFi and blockchain real estate. Dennis is an amazing gentleman. He's one of the co-founders of Block Square. He's the CEO of Block Square. And he's a distinguished personality and character because of a few things. One, he's an architect by studies. He's a businessman by nature. He's a real estate investor. If you look at his history and things he's done, you would understand how pioneering is his approach. He's someone who understands exactly what he wants. He says, I'm always so pragmatic. I would say he's always so realistic about his approach to how and what can tech do. So he's that kind of guy. And sitting with him, remember, he's not a tech guy. He's not a web developer or software developer, for example. He understands that because of the business that we're in. And there is the CTO, Victor, the guru in that, Peter, who is the guru in everything and everything legal, and those are the co-founders. When you talk to Dennis, you can learn from him so much. And this is how it started. It started that let's display this knowledge to the world from his side, from a tech point of view, and what are we doing at Block Square, from my side, from a real estate point of view. And thanks God, it's improving, it's developing. We're happy with the progress. I will say that there's still things that we want to improve and develop, but I'm sure that Block Chat today is much better than Block Chat a few months ago.
Definitely, there's always room for improvement. Even when I started the podcast, the first ones were absolutely horrendous. So how can listeners, let's say, if they want to attend that session, is there a link that they need to follow? Is it via LinkedIn, or how do they get to watch that session?
So we used to air it on YouTube, on Block Square's YouTube channel, and on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Now it's everywhere. If you go to Block Square's or Dennis's or my LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you will find it. So it's every Thursday, and you just log in there and you will see it. Why? Because we are now on around 15 channels, 15 accounts. So we're everywhere. Easiest to go is to Block Square's or Dennis's or my LinkedIn account. Jump on there, follow the company, and then you can get the live every Thursday.
Perfect. So what I'll do is, in the show notes, I'll mention all the links so it becomes easier for listeners to go and attend that session. And one question, Mark, and which I wanted to ask, based on your experience, if we can discuss, how does tokenization differ from NFTs? Because what a lot of the companies and some of your competitors are doing, and with reference to real estate, they're trying to merge both of them together.
Guys, fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens are different tools that can be acted and enacted differently. Now, you can always make something. You can always make a Mercedes go off-road. Now, how far would it go? And I'm not talking here about a G-Wagon, just for somebody. Mercedes can go off-road. So an S series go off-road. It's not meant to, guys. So an NFT can be a great proof of ownership or one of the ways to confirm ownership of a signature trophy asset. An NFT can do too many things when it comes to communities, when it comes to clubs, when it comes to subscriptions, when it comes to ticketing. It has so many uses. Tokenizing real estate is not one of them. Now, digitizing real estate may be one of them, but tokenizing, and yes, by a non-fungible token, you're tokenizing, and I do understand that. However, digitizing real estate means moving the process, logistics, title, deed, everything online, digital. However, tokenizing it is splitting its ownership rights, be it economic rights or anything else, into smaller portions. Is that best with NFTs? In my view, no. In my view, it's fungible tokens that are best service this. Now, can you create NFTs? 100,000 NFTs for a property, a trophy asset? Yes, you can. But is it the best way to go about it? I don't believe so. And I don't believe so for a very simple reason. First, because of NFTs as a tool. What does it entail? How does it act? How does it help you with distributing returns? How does it help you with creating the regulatory compliant framework? All of those and others, I believe fungible tokens serve better.
I think you're 100% accurate. And to be honest, I have been actively involved in the NFT community. Trust me, and I'm not saying it because you're on this session. You have got it 100% right. At the exact same point, I'm trying to convince them, but unfortunately, they don't get easily convinced. I've spoken to a couple of lawyers as well, and I try to explain to them that, you have an Harvey test, and that's the reason why tokenization would be better in tokenization, not in NFT. So absolutely brilliant point. And I think, our listeners should definitely go and rewatch what Makram has said. Definitely brilliant thing. Now, with reference to the NFT hype, which is currently going on right now, and some of the competitors like the Mark Group, what they're planning to do is, they're trying to merge the NFT with the metaverse as well. So do you or any of your business ventures, do they have any plans? Nothing to do with real estate, but to do with digital properties. Is that one of the ventures that you have in mind? So it'll just be a virtual
agree on a few things.
Yeah.
Because I'm very selective about my words and I'm very specific about how I say things. And I've been asked this before, is there real estate on the metaverse? And I say it, and I will say it 100 times again. There's no real estate on the metaverse. Real estate has a definition. First, it should be real.
Yeah.
On the metaverse, call it whatever you want. Call it space. Call it virtual space. Call it virtual whatever you want. But real estate has a definition, and it doesn't apply. So let's go to NFTs and the metaverse. The metaverse has great uses, starting from education, going to ability to integrate Web3 into our lives. There is possibilities within the metaverse to do too many things. By the way, I'm not an expert on it. And I will tell you a secret now that people will not like as well. Yeah. I'm not only not an expert on it, I'm not a customer of it yet. And I've met people that are amazing. I've met a group, a team in Meta Week in Dubai, and they're amazing. Actually, I'll mention their names if you don't mind. Pax World.
That's perfectly fine. Okay.
They're amazing people. I don't have any alignment with them. I don't work with them yet. I've just met them there, had a few drinks, and then connected on one Teams call. But I believe that they're not about fluff. They're not about hype. They know what they're doing and they know how to say it. Education, metaverse. Yes, definitely. The future of education, a smart education, really smart education, is the metaverse, or metaverse is part of it. When it comes to many interactions that we can, including get-togethers, including concerts, metaverse, maybe 3D tours, metaverse.
Yep.
However, by the way, even 3D tours outside the metaverse are better quality. So if you talk to someone who really knows what he's talking about, and I'm not an expert on that, but I talk to people who really know what they're talking about, they tell you that when we want to integrate your 3D tour into the metaverse, we take you to a space and it pops up a third-party solution. Because the graphics that you want, the very high quality graphics that come in a render, a computer with a metaverse does not have computing power to do it. And by the way, George, if you want, I'll connect you to Frank, the CEO of Paxword, and amazing guy. I really believe you and your listeners will enjoy.
I think he's working with Virtual Zone as well now, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Frank is, but just to be sure, I'm not sure if Frank is. Now,
okay.
I wouldn't say competitor, by the way, when it comes to the Mac, because I believe that it's good that big players come and innovate. And in this market today, there's no competitors yet. We are all pushing for the same direction, each in his own way, with his own ethos, his own approach. So yes, the Mac is trying to experiment with many of those. And it's not a secret that many others are similar to Aldar and other big players. Amar Properties, I'm sure, is doing so much in that. What I would say is it's all experimenting for many of the big players, because the modules that work are not yet fully clear. So it's experimenting. Whenever it comes to them developing metaverses, you asked if any of our companies is involved in anything like that. GMRA actually is advising a government body on the metaverse. Okay. Not in Dubai, but it's a very prominent one. Second, we are developing for others metaverse infrastructure. Now, when it comes to utilizing that within real estate, there is uses, but the uses are not as people are imagining today. I believe, as with everything, when it's hyped, people over-expect, and then it settles down. We'll wait until it settles down. And that's the craze of NFTs. That's everything that's taking place. And by the way, I used to not like hype. I do not mind it anymore. I'm not a subscriber to hype, but I don't mind it, because I believe that it accelerates some stuff. Sometimes it hurts us in an industry or a portion of it, but in general, it helps to accelerate the adoption of an industry or of a tool. And then with time, we go back to reality and to what really works, what really makes sense.
You're absolutely right, because, I do think the realistic time frame for metaverse adoption is at least a decade away. So, you're absolutely spot on. I just have a couple of questions, Makram. The first one is, what are the recommendations, let's say, you have for fellow business partners who are trying to tokenize real estate? Do you have any word for them, a word of advice?
Everyone who's trying to tokenize real estate today, remember, your expectations should be right. If you over-expect, you will fail. People look at us and say, why are you going slow, guys? And we say, because we want to always be compliant. In my businesses, for example, even businesses where I do not have AML compliance obligations, I am AML compliant. I create a KYC for every customer. Now, in some of the businesses, we have an obligation of that. In others, we don't. We still run that and through that. Why? Because this is our nature. If you are coming into tokenization today, know what to expect. You cannot raise $100 million for a project today within a month through tokenization. The ecosystem, the market is not there yet. We at Block Square created a DeFi bridge, DeFi protocol, which is Ocean Point, which allows you to do more. However, still, we are not there yet. If you have a property which is a 500 million dirhams, $150 million or so, and you want to tokenize that property, and you want to sell those tokens into the retail market, and you want to liquefy it within a month or two, most probably the market will not help you do that, because there is not yet enough adoption to do that. We're getting there so fast, but it's not yet. We still need things to go mainstream. We still need institutions which are still starting to get on it. Yeah, institutions today are approaching us as Fibri, for example, to do research paper and other activities around blockchain real estate. REITs are doing that because they understand the value, and if they don't tackle it today, it will become a challenge. It will become a challenger. So today it may be an opportunity for them. It's an opportunity for funds, for real estate funds. It's an opportunity for everyone in it. However, it's not yet your biggest portion of money generating and business. Today, it's you subscribing into the future. And in anything which is a collaborative economy model or collaborative economic model, it's very important to be early for a very simple reason. Big money in conventional terms can buy you what you could buy if you're not early, but you want to become the biggest. Whenever it's all about communities and mass adoption, and it's a collaborative economic aspect, it's very difficult to do that. You still can do it by creating general influence and a huge influence, but not as easy as conventional terms. So it's advisable that everyone jumps on and starts understanding the possibilities. It's not all possibilities. There's too many challenges, but they need to start today.
Absolutely. And being an early adopter definitely has its benefits. I totally agree on that. And I just have a few questions, Makram. One of them being, where do you see tokenization of real estate, let's say a decade or 2 decades from now? How do you picture tokenization? Maybe by the year 2040 or 2050, by the time you're relatively older by that time.
I am asked too many times, why are you spending your time in this business? Yeah, you have a successful business, you make enough money trading real estate, and you can grow that and scale it because it's indefinitely, approximately. Why do you spend your time on this? I tell them, because I'm not after the coming million, I'm after the coming billion. And to impact and get the coming billion, you need to impact $1 trillion of an industry, probably, or a few hundred of billions of dollars. Real estate is a 300 to 600 trillion, depending on how fluctuating it is at the time we're speaking, $300 to 600 trillion of economic power and of value, and impacting 3% of that, 1% or 2% of that is huge. As per Boston Consulting Group, because that's the most relevant research I see today, at 2030, the total tokenization of non-liquid assets will be a value of $16.1 trillion, where homeowners' equity of that will be $3.1 trillion. So that's by 2030, 7 years from now, approximately. It's $3.1 trillion. That's a small portion of all what's there, guys, but that's enough to change countries, not only companies, and to build environments. So this is where we're probably going. I can be more pessimistic than that, and I would say, let it be $2 trillion by 2030. A $2 trillion by 2030, and you are part of it. It means you're part of something mostly very interesting.
Absolutely, Ben. I just have 2 final questions. We'll try to wrap it up pretty soon. One of them is, I went through your personal website as well, and you have written a couple of books as well.
Yep.
So do you want to share our listeners in terms of what the book is all about? Because I found it really intriguing.
Very early. So I wrote poetry. And I used to be kicked away from school because of some of the poetry I used to write. Now, my grandfather from my mother's side is a poet. My mother is a poet, and actually also she writes books for youngsters, Arabic stories for youngsters, some of the most known or successful stories for youngsters in our region. Now, remember, I'm Lebanese, so we're from Mount Lebanon. I started writing poetry very early, at around 8 years old. And when I read some of the stuff that I've written at that time, I say, how can someone write this at 9 or 10? So then I started writing English poetry, and then I wrote my first book, which is not online anymore, but I usually keep my history online, even if you laugh about it. So after a few years, it's good for a good laugh, because you see the evolution and how it happened. If there wasn't that guy, there isn't this guy. That's why I keep some of my old videos. If you listen to, you will really laugh. So I wrote my first book, and I created a series called The Blind Loyalty to the Rules of Nonsense. And because I believe that we are all labeled. We are all about the blind loyalty to the rules of nonsense. And this is what we mostly run through our lives. So then I wrote my sales book, which is a no-fluff technical sales book. If you want to learn the basics and develop from there, you need to go and buy Facilitating Purchases and read it. It's intentionally, by the way, at that time, if I would do it now, I would probably do a Kindle version. At that time, I did intentionally not create a Kindle version. I said everyone who wants to read it should put the effort in going out and reading it. And mostly at that time, it was my team and slightly beyond. And then I found out that it became an Amazon bestseller. So I said, wow, okay, so that's different than planned. And that's my sales book. And then I have a few real estate books that are digital online. And most of my recent books are free, are digital online for people to download and enjoy. And most of it, again, is technical. When I started writing about some stuff that people now realize, is he really talking about this since 2009? In 2009, I started, for example, writing Playing the Game No One Understands, Capitalism on the Verge of a Technical Gamble. And when I started talking about it in 2009, nobody was talking about it. And I continued writing on this, similar to When Giants Stumble, which was probably 2014. And I continued within the same rhythm, and still am, because I believe that what we are living and we will live over the coming few years is non-precedented. And you don't have to have a crystal ball to know that. And you don't have to have a crystal ball to know what's best to do with that. You just need to technically look at what's right.
Absolutely. And that is so inspiring, the fact that, you talked about the 2008 financial crisis, and that has only motivated you to work on the book next year. So absolutely brilliant. And one final question, which is nothing to do with real estate tokenization. What genre of music do you personally like, and why?
Okay, that's a difficult question, having my son. Look, I historically did not used to listen much to music, although I studied music for 3 years and I was planning to study it professionally. I don't know why. I have no music ear. I shouldn't touch music or a music instrument. And at that time, a great teacher called Ilyas Saeed told me that, and actually kicked me out so that I stopped learning music because I'm lousy at it. However, today I'm all about classic. I believe that, especially when working, it's good to have a background music. But also, I'm a rock guy. So my son and I am rock. So
that is brilliant.
Yeah, this is what we listen throughout our times together.
That is absolutely brilliant. And any final words that you have, Makram, for our listeners in terms of, how can they get in touch with you and how do they approach you and learn more about tokenization and Block Square and Arms and McGregor?
Thank you for having me first. And I really enjoyed it. It was simple and fun. Yep. And thank you for everyone who's listening. To approach me, it's very easy. Go through my website, which is makramhani.com, or through my LinkedIn. I'm very accessible. You can reach me or my PA in a split of a second, and we usually reply within the same day. Again, thank you so much for having me. I hope that everyone benefits from the small chat we have. And I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think there is a lot of positivity that comes across from you. You're definitely an expert in the real estate section as well. Thank you so very much for doing this, Makram. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so very much.